I'm often asked how to find the best possible deals on real estate overseas. And we've talked for years about how up-and-coming boom markets that have a lot of potential, from Georgia to Cambodia to Colombia to Armenia and many others, are ways where you can go and invest your capital, pay a relatively low price for what it is that you're getting, and get higher yields, get higher returns, have a greater probability for returns. But there's one hack that I've recently come across that is potentially a way for you to lower your entry cost even further. I'm going to tell you what it is coming up. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson. Here at Nomad Capitalist, we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs by talking about how to legally go offshore and reduce your tax bill, become a dual citizen to increase your options, and invest overseas to have higher potential, higher return investments. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And this hack that I discovered, it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty straightforward. As I say, there's really no great secrets to investing overseas. The best secret probably is having good contacts and knowing who to hire to make sure you don't overpay. But once you have it in place, how do you get more for your money? Because what's been interesting is a lot of the markets that we've talked about over the years have gone up in price. You've seen markets like Tbilisi, Georgia, Phnom Penh, Cambodia. They have definitely gone up in price. Sihanoukville, Cambodia, for example, has gone up 5, 6, 7-fold since I started talking about it about 6, 7 years ago. And so that's just a market that doesn't really work anymore. Some of the capital city markets that I often talk about, Istanbul, not a capital city, but a big city in a country, there's still a lot of potential if you buy right. But once you see a lot of foreigners start to come into a market, I go to Tbilisi, I'm always running into people who meet me on the street and they say, hey, I came here, I opened a bank account, I'm buying a property, I heard about it from you. You see Arab investors coming into markets like Tbilisi. You see Chinese investors coming into markets like Phnom Penh. And so a lot of the good deals get drowned out. Here's the trick. If you want to get a lower price, you want to look at larger units. And this became apparent to me recently when in Malaysia, I was looking to potentially sell the home that I live in now that I bought a couple years ago. I'm married, looking forward to family, just want more space in general. And was looking at larger apartments. And I kept finding myself looking at, okay, this one's larger. And then, but they've got an even larger one. And then I started looking at different buildings and I just got larger and larger and larger to where I'm looking at apartments that are the size of like a house that I would have grown up in the United States, 3,000 square foot, almost 300 meter property. And what was interesting, we keep here spreadsheets of close to 20 different real estate markets that are of interest, either we actively recommend to people or that we're studying to consider recommending. And so I went through my spreadsheet in Malaysia, and what did I find? For all these larger properties, and especially in buildings where they only sold larger properties, where the smallest unit size was a lot larger than the average in the city, I saw a much lower cost per square foot or cost per square meter. There's one building in Kuala Lumpur. It's right near the Petronas Towers, where if you move in, you have literally every unit has its own private pool. And so I'm looking at that, and that's pretty incredible, right? You've got duplexes with these beautiful, must be 6 or 7 meter tall windows. 2 floors of windows. You've got your own private pool. You're looking out basically at the Petronas Towers. And it's just really sexy. And I'm looking at it and comparing it to buildings like the one that I lived in when I first moved to KL and I was renting many, many years ago. The price per square foot, which is the metric they use in Malaysia, the price per foot was actually lower. Now, the building I lived in when I first rented, it was a pretty cool building, but you didn't have a private pool in your own place, and you had nice windows, but they weren't two floors of beautiful, glass looking out at the city's landmark. And so the price was actually lower there. Why? Because the square footage or the square meterage was triple what it was where I was initially living. These places with the private pools are just really big apartments. They go up to about 4,000 square feet, about 360 some meters. And so I started looking at other buildings like that, and I found that was pretty similar across the board. One thing that Reed at Invest Asian has talked to me about, he's in Bangkok and he's in Phnom Penh. He says Bangkok is flooded with one-bedroom inventory. You're going to pay more for one-bedrooms. The yields are going to be lower. You can have greater time on market. He says the only way I would really be investing in Bangkok right now, which he thinks got a little overheated. The only way he'd be investing in Bangkok was investing in larger properties, 3 bedrooms. Now you've got more of a niche market for a 3 bedroom than you do for a 1 bedroom, but he says, actually yields are higher and there's actually more potential for those right now, okay? The same thing is true when I talk to all my real estate contacts in Georgia. Georgia, for the longest time, was one of the cheapest markets on planet Earth. I mean, you could consistently get inventory in the city center under $1,000 a meter, which is my standard for dirt cheap property in a main or in a capital city. It's pretty hard to do that now unless you're looking at 100 to 150 meters or more. Now in a place like a Georgia, in some of these more emerging markets, Malaysia this probably wouldn't work, but in a place like a Georgia, maybe a Serbia, something like that, you can actually go in and buy some of these 150, 200 meter apartments that maybe are a relatively niche market to rent out, and you can actually cut them in two. Some of these more emerging countries, you don't have these great zoning rules. It's not everything has a great planning committee. You just go to the government, submit a new floor plan, you get a separate cadastral code, and you're off to the races. And so, the interesting thing about a market like a Georgia, or a Cambodia, or many of these emerging markets that don't have super aggressive laws in terms of what you must do with your real estate, you can actually buy larger units and then reconfigure them, do a renovation, especially if you're buying poorly renovated units to start, and then subdivide those. So now you have the units that are in demand that have become so prevalent and the prices have gone up on. What a lot of people do, especially when they're going overseas, because they inherently have less comfort, is they look for something to dip their toe into. And there's nothing wrong with that. I, for a long time, have told you, if you're going to go offshore and you're not totally comfortable, do something. Dip your toe in. Get started. I've talked about some of my early real estate deals that were, $10,000, $22,000. I mean, I bought land for $800. I mean, sometimes just doing those initial deals is good to get rolling, to get comfortable, and then that facilitates doing the big deals that actually work out very well for you, and that's what somewhat happened in my case. But if you have the resources and you have the comfort level and you have the context just to go in and find a good deal, buying larger can often be better. Now, sometimes you can find some really good deals, especially in markets that are not trending as well. But if you're going to a market that's continuing to go up, what you'll see is a lot of people ignoring that larger inventory. And especially if you can cut it up, or if you have a market where you can rent it out to someone, or even if you just hold on to it, use it for your own personal use, whatever. That's one thing that I would consider doing, because most people, again, they're coming in 40, 50, 60 square meters, especially in their first deal. If you go larger, you can probably find some really good deals. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.